October 2012. The Atlantic hurricane season is drawing to a close, but the ocean is still warm and the atmosphere is restless. Far from the American coastline, a tropical wave leaves the west coast of Africa, beginning a journey that will end in disaster for millions. This is the story of Hurricane Sandy, a storm that would become a symbol of climate change, economic inequality, and the hidden costs of putting profit before people. Sandy's origins are unremarkable at first. The tropical wave drifts westward, battered by wind shear, struggling to organize. But as it enters the Caribbean, the environment changes. The Madden-Julian Oscillation, a planetary-scale pulse of atmospheric energy, passes through the region, lowering surface pressures and priming the area for cyclogenesis. By October 22nd, a broad low-pressure area forms south of Haiti. Within hours, it organizes into a tropical depression, and soon after, Tropical Storm Sandy is born. Sandy's early development is classic: primitive banding, deep convection, and a rapid drop in pressure. But what happens next is anything but ordinary. As Sandy moves north, it feeds on the warm waters of the Caribbean. On October 24th, it makes landfall in Jamaica as a Category 1 hurricane, the first direct hit since 1988. The storm devastates eastern Jamaica, causing widespread flooding and landslides and leaving thousands homeless. But the real drama is still to come. Crossing the Cayman Trench, Sandy intensifies rapidly. By the time it strikes eastern Cuba, it's a Category 3 hurricane, with winds of 100 knots and a central pressure of 954 millibars. The storm devastates Santiago de Cuba, destroying thousands of homes and leaving millions without power. In just a few hours, Sandy has become a major hurricane, and its sights are set on the United States. But before we reveal how Sandy became the largest Atlantic hurricane ever recorded, ask yourself, what happens when a storm grows beyond anything the models have ever seen? If you want to understand the science behind monstrous disasters and why it matters for the future, keep watching and subscribe. After Cuba, Sandy's structure begins to change. Strong wind shear and interaction with a mid-latitude trough weaken the storm, but also cause it to grow fast. As it moves through the Bahamas, Sandy's wind field doubles in size. By the time it leaves the tropics, it's the largest Atlantic hurricane ever recorded, with tropical storm force winds stretching nearly 900 miles across. This is not just a meteorological curiosity. The bigger the storm, the bigger the surge, and Sandy's surge will be catastrophic. Storm surge is the deadliest aspect of most hurricanes. It's not just wind, it's the mass of ocean water pushed ashore by the storm circulation, amplified by low pressure and high tides. Sandy's surge is historic. At the Battery in Manhattan, the storm tide reaches 14 feet above normal, over 4 feet higher than any previous record. In Staten Island and the Jersey Shore, water levels rise 8 to 9 feet above ground, inundating entire neighborhoods. The timing is perfect for disaster. Landfall coincides with a full moon and astronomical high tide. The surge floods subway tunnels, destroys boardwalks, and turns streets into rivers. It's a slow-motion catastrophe, and it's only possible because of the storm's unprecedented size. But the surge is just one part of the story. Sandy's maximum sustained winds at landfall in New Jersey are 70 knots, but gusts exceed hurricane force in multiple states. The lowest central pressure, 940 millibars, is one of the lowest ever recorded north of the Carolinas. Rainfall totals are extreme. 5 to 12 inches fall across the mid-Atlantic, with a peak of nearly 13 inches in Maryland. But it's the combination of surge and rain that leads to widespread river flooding, especially in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. Rivers swell, levees are overtopped, and entire communities are cut off from the outside world. But what made Sandy's impact so devastating wasn't just the weather. It was the way the storm collided with a society already divided by wealth, power, and access. Before we reveal how the hidden agenda of disaster capitalism shaped the response to Sandy, consider this. Who really pays when disaster strikes? If you want to know why the rich always seem to recover faster and why the poor are left behind, don't look away now. Sandy causes an estimated $50 billion in damage, making it the second costliest cyclone in U.S. history at the time. But the burden is not shared equally. Wealthy neighborhoods often have better flood protection, insurance coverage, and faster recovery. Low-income communities, especially in New York City's outer boroughs and New Jersey's shore towns, suffer the worst losses. Many lack flood insurance, live in older housing, and have fewer resources to rebuild. The hidden agenda of disaster capitalism is that economic losses are minimized for the rich, while the poor pay with their homes, health, and sometimes their lives. In the aftermath, government aid and private investment flow first to areas deemed economically vital: downtown Manhattan, Wall Street, and high-value real estate, while working-class neighborhoods wait for help. The insurance industry, backed by Wall Street, raises premiums, redraws flood maps, and lobbies for policies that shift risk onto individuals and local governments. Meanwhile, the same corporations whose emissions drive climate change lobby against stricter building codes, floodplain regulations, and carbon pricing. Sandy exposes the vulnerability of critical infrastructure. The New York City subway system suffers its worst disaster in 108 years, with 8 tunnels flooded. Power outages affect over 8.5 million customers. Wastewater and sewage systems fail, contaminating neighborhoods. These failures are not inevitable. They are the result of decades of underinvestment, deferred maintenance, and a political culture that prioritizes short-term savings over long-term resilience. The same corporations that profit from fossil fuels and real estate speculation shape policy, ensuring that the next disaster will follow the same script, unless we demand change. But what about the science? How did climate change make Sandy worse, and what does it mean for the storms of the future? Before we reveal the climate connection, ask yourself, are we living in a new era of superstorms, or is this just the beginning? If you want to know how human activity is rewriting the rules of weather, stay tuned. Sandy is not a climate change hurricane, but its impacts are amplified by a climate system already altered by human activity. Warmer ocean temperatures in the Atlantic and Caribbean provide more energy for intensification. Sea level rise, already up a foot in New York Harbor since 1900, means the storm surge starts from a higher baseline, flooding areas that would have been spared a century ago. Changing atmospheric patterns, possibly influenced by the loss of Arctic sea ice, may have contributed to the unusual blocking high that forced Sandy's left turn into the U.S. coast. These changes are not accidental. They are the result of decades of fossil fuel combustion, industrial pollution, and land use decisions made by corporations and governments prioritizing profit over planetary health. The same enterprises that drive economic growth also drive emissions, and their influence over policy ensures that the costs of climate change are borne by the many, while the profits are captured by the few. The National Hurricane Center's forecasts for Sandy are among the most accurate in history. 5 days before landfall, the European ECMWF model predicts the left turn into New Jersey, while most U.S. models still show Sandy heading out to sea. But even with accurate forecasts, the warnings do not reach everyone equally. Evacuation orders are issued, but compliance is uneven, often because low-income residents lack transportation, money for hotels, or trust in authorities. In the months after Sandy, the federal government allocates billions for recovery, but the distribution of aid reflects existing inequalities. Wealthier homeowners receive buyouts or rebuild with insurance money. Renters and undocumented immigrants often receive little or nothing. Public housing residents wait months for repairs. Meanwhile, the insurance industry raises premiums, redraws flood maps, and lobbies for policies that shift risk onto individuals and local governments. Sandy is a warning shot. Since 2012, sea levels have continued to rise, storms have grown more intense, and the gap between rich and poor has widened. The same corporate interests that profit from fossil fuels and real estate speculation continue to shape policy, ensuring that the next disaster will follow the same script, unless we demand change. The science is clear. The economics are clear. The only question is whether we will continue to accept a system where the rich are protected and the poor are left to drown. Hurricane Sandy was not just a natural disaster, it was a human-made catastrophe, shaped by the choices of those who valued profit over people, short-term gain over long-term safety, and the comfort of the wealthy over the lives of the vulnerable. If we do not change course, if we do not demand accountability from those who profit from risk while shifting the cost onto the most vulnerable, then Sandy will not be the last storm to expose the true price of inequality. But before we close, ask yourself, what will you do when the next storm comes? Will you accept the status quo, or will you demand a future where safety, justice, and resilience are not reserved for the privileged few? The choice is ours. The time is now.